Welcome to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast with me, Dave Roberts. Can you imagine a future where the most powerful AI systems ever created are not simply launched to the public after initial company testing, but instead are handed over to government scientists before release? Imagine governments stress testing AI models in the same way banks undergo financial stress tests or aircraft undergo safety certification. Well, that future has just taken a major step forward in the United States. This week, companies including Google Deepmind, Microsoft and Elon Musk's xAI have agreed to give the US government early access to frontier AI models for national security testing before those systems are released publicly. This initiative is being led by the US government's Center for AI Standards and Innovation, which sits within the Department of Commerce. This is not just another technology regulation story though. This could become one of the defining governance models of the AI era. It raises massive questions about innovation, competition, national security, trust, and the balance between public safety and private enterprise. Today we're going to unpack what these new AI stress tests actually involve, why governments are suddenly so concerned about frontier AI models, how companies like Microsoft and Google are responding, whether this could slow down innovation, and why many experts believe this moment may become the equivalent of the aviation industry introducing mandatory safety inspections decades ago. Timing of this announcement is no coincidence. AI capabilities have accelerated dramatically over the last 2 years. Models can now write software, conduct scientific research, analyze huge datasets, and automate increasingly complex business workflows. But alongside those capabilities comes growing fear. Governments are worried that advanced AI systems could be exploited to develop cyber attacks, biological threats, misinformation campaigns, or even autonomous decision-making that humans struggle to control. And what makes this especially important is that we're no longer talking about consumer chatbots that answer questions or create images. We're talking about frontier models. The phrase frontier AI refers to the most advanced systems available at any point in time. These are the models operating at the edge of current technological capability. In many cases, even their creators do not fully understand all of their emergent behaviours. That uncertainty is exactly why governments are becoming nervous. According to reports, the Center for AI Standards and Innovation has already conducted more than 40 evaluations of advanced AI systems. These assessments focus heavily on cybersecurity risks, chemical and biological weapon development risks, manipulation risks, and vulnerabilities that malicious actors could exploit. Now, this is where the story becomes particularly fascinating for technology leaders. For years, governments struggled to keep pace with AI innovation. Regulators often appeared several steps behind the companies building the technology, but this new approach changes this dynamic entirely. Rather than waiting until after the release to react to problems, the US government wants visibility before deployment. This is a huge shift. It effectively means that the United States is attempting to create a pre-deployment evaluation model for frontier AI. And interestingly, some commentators have pointed out that this resembles approaches already emerging in China, where advanced AI systems face significant state oversight before public release. This is Washington moving towards a more proactive evaluation strategy, similar to existing Chinese practices, although obviously within a very different political and legal framework. So, what exactly will these stress tests involve? The details are still evolving, but several core themes are emerging. First, there is cybersecurity. Governments are deeply concerned that powerful AI systems could help hostile actors identify vulnerabilities in infrastructure, automate hacking operations, or accelerate cyber warfare. So one major area of testing focuses on whether AI models could be used to launch attacks against critical infrastructure. Think about energy grids, transportation systems, hospitals, telecommunication networks, and financial institutes. If advanced AI models can significantly increase offensive cyber capability, governments need to understand those risks before public deployment. Second, there are biological and chemical risks. This is one of the most sensitive and controversial areas of frontier AI safety. Researchers worry that significantly advanced models might provide dangerous guidance relating to harmful substances or biological processes. The concern is not necessarily that AI independently creates biological weapons immediately. The concern is that these systems could dramatically lower the barrier to entry for dangerous knowledge. Third, there is the issue of model manipulation and alignment. Can malicious users bypass safety mechanisms? Can models be tricked into revealing restricted information? Can prompt engineering undermine safeguards? That is really important because AI safety is not only about what a model intends to do, it's about whether safety controls remain robust under adversarial conditions. And fourth, there is a broader concern about unexpected behaviour. Frontier AI models increasingly demonstrate emergent capabilities. In other words, systems sometimes develop behaviours or competencies that researchers did not specifically predict during training. That unpredictability is one reason many experts argue that advanced AI requires a governance framework closer to aviation, nuclear power, or pharmaceuticals than traditional software development. Now, from a business leadership perspective, this creates both opportunities and risks. On the positive side, government-backed safety testing could increase public trust. One of the biggest barriers to enterprise AI adoption today is fear. Boards worry about hallucinations, security exposure, compliance failures, and reputational damage. If governments establish recognized testing standards, organizations may feel more confident deploying advanced systems. In other words, safety certification could eventually become a commercial advantage. Imagine a future where enterprise customers ask not whether an AI model is powerful, but whether it has passed government safety evaluation. That possibility could fundamentally reshape competition in the AI market. But there are also obvious tensions here. Technology companies move fast. Governments traditionally do not. One major concern is whether mandatory safety testing could slow innovation. In the AI race, timing matters enormously. Companies are competing fiercely for market dominance, cloud revenue, developer ecosystems, and enterprise integration opportunities. If government reviews introduce delays, firms may fear losing competitive advantage. There is also the geopolitical dimension. The United States is effectively trying to balance two conflicting priorities at the same time. On one side, it wants to lead the world in AI innovation. On the other side, it wants to reduce national security risks from advanced AI. Those goals are not always perfectly aligned, and this becomes more complicated when we consider global competition with China. AI is increasingly viewed not just as a commercial technology, but as a strategic national capability. Governments see AI leadership as critical for economic growth, military capability, and geopolitical influence. That means the US government faces a delicate challenge. It must encourage rapid AI advancement while preventing uncontrolled deployment of potentially dangerous systems. That balancing act explains why voluntary cooperation from major technology firms matters so much. What is particularly interesting is the list of companies involved. Google Deepmind, Microsoft, xAI are not minor players. These organizations sit at the center of the frontier AI race. Earlier agreements already included OpenAI and Anthropic. When nearly all major frontier AI labs begin cooperating with government safety evaluations, we may be witnessing the early foundations of a new global governance framework. And interestingly, this is not happening in isolation. The UK has also positioned itself as a major voice in AI safety discussions. Britain hosted the AI Safety Summit at Bletchley Park and continues pushing for international cooperation around frontier AI governance. Microsoft is also collaborating with UK oversight initiatives, so we're beginning to see an international pattern emerge. Governments are moving away from purely reactive regulation towards proactive risk assessment. That represents a major evolution in technology governance. Now let's talk about the broader implications for enterprise leaders, because this story is not only relevant for governments or AI researchers. If you're a tech leader, this development matters directly to your strategy. Why? Because it signals that AI governance is becoming a board-level issue. For years, organizations approached AI largely through productivity and innovation lenses. The focus was on efficiency gains, automation, and competitive differentiation. But now risk governance is becoming equally important. Organizations deploying advanced AI systems will increasingly need formal evaluation frameworks, internal testing procedures, governance boards, and audit capabilities. In fact, we may eventually see AI governance become similar to cybersecurity governance. Think back 20 years, cybersecurity was often treated as an IT issue. Today, it is a business resilience issue discussed at board level. AI governance appears to be heading in the same direction, and there is another important angle here. These government stress tests may eventually influence procurement standards. Imagine regulated industries such as healthcare, finance, defense, or critical infrastructure requiring certified AI models before deployment. That could dramatically affect vendor selection, compliance obligations, and enterprise architecture decisions. This also creates a fascinating challenge for AI vendors themselves. Historically, Silicon Valley culture had celebrated rapid iteration. The mantra was move fast and break things. But frontier AI may force a philosophical shift towards move carefully and prove safety. This is a completely different operating model, and perhaps one of the biggest questions is whether these evaluations remain voluntary or eventually become mandatory. Right now, these arrangements are based on agreements and cooperation, but some reports suggest that the White House is exploring stronger executive action relating to frontier AI security reviews. If that happens, we could see the beginning of formal federal oversight for advanced AI deployment. That would be enormously significant. It would effectively create a regulatory gateway between AI development and public release. Now naturally, critics are already raising concerns. Some worry about government overreach. Others question whether regulators pose significant technical expertise to evaluate rapidly evolving frontier systems. There are also concerns around intellectual property protection, confidential training data, and the risk of slowing American competitiveness. These are valid concerns. Because unlike aviation or pharmaceuticals, AI evolves incredibly quickly. Models improve every few months, capabilities emerge unpredictably, safety standards may struggle to keep pace with innovation cycles. And there is another challenge. What exactly defines a dangerous capability? At what point does a highly capable reasoning system become a national security concern? Those questions are not straightforward. For example, an AI system capable of advanced chemistry research could potentially accelerate pharmaceutical discovery and life-saving medical breakthroughs. But similar capabilities may also raise concerns about misuse. That dual-use nature of AI makes governance exceptionally difficult. It is one reason why many experts argue that static regulation will not work. Instead, governments may need adaptive governance frameworks that evolve continuously alongside AI capabilities. Academic researchers increasingly describe frontier AI governance as a dynamic risk management challenge rather than a traditional compliance exercise. And honestly, this may only be the beginning. As AI systems become more autonomous, multimodal, and agentic, the complexity of evaluation will increase dramatically. Future assessments may examine not only individual model outputs, but coordinated autonomous behavior, self-improvement capabilities, long horizon planning, and interaction with physical systems. That sounds futuristic, but much of that research is already happening. Some frontier safety frameworks are now evaluating risks across cyber operations, scientific research automation, embodied AI, and autonomous decision-making. In other words, governments are preparing not only for the current AI systems, but for what may arrive in the next decade. And that brings us to one of the most important leadership questions of all. How should organizations prepare for a world where AI safety regulation becomes normal? I think there are several lessons already emerging. First, organizations need stronger AI governance structures now, not later. Waiting for regulation to arrive is risky. Second, transparency will become increasingly important. Businesses deploying AI systems need visibility into how models are trained, evaluated, and monitored. Third, security and AI strategy can no longer operate separately. AI governance, cybersecurity, compliance, and risk management are rapidly converging. And fourth, trust may become the defining competitive advantage of the AI era. Not just capability, not just speed, trust. Because ultimately, societies will only embrace advanced AI if people believe those systems are safe, reliable, and accountable. That is why this story matters so much beyond the headlines. This is not simply about Microsoft, Google, or xAI sharing models with the US government. This is about the beginning of a new relationship between governments and frontier technology. A relationship where AI is no longer viewed purely as software innovation, but as critical infrastructure with national security implications. And once technology reaches that category, the rules change. We have seen it before with aviation, telecommunications, nuclear energy, and financial systems. AI may now be entering that same phase. So as we close today's episode, here is the big question I want you to think about. Will government safety testing become the foundation that enables trusted AI adoption at global scale, or will it become a bottleneck that slows innovation and shifts the balance of power in the AI race? Because whichever way this develops, one thing is absolutely clear. The era of frontier AI operating without meaningful government scrutiny is rapidly coming to an end. And for technology leaders everywhere, that changes the conversation completely. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning into the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. You can find more insights, show notes, and resources at www.inspiringtechleaders.com. Head over to the social media channels. You can find Inspiring Tech Leaders on X, Instagram, Inspo, and TikTok. And let me know your thoughts on this evolving AI governance landscape. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in tech.